Let us have a moment of prayer together. God of love and so many words, may the meditations of our hearts and the words of our mouth be acceptable to you this morning. Prepare our spirit to hear you, to feel you, and to walk with you. In Jesus' name, amen. What a week we've had. Hasn't it been an extraordinary week in our lives in this nation this week that just passed? I want us to take a moment together to think about the things that you have heard and just have a reflection, and don't go directly and immediately to the negative things, but do an inventory of the things that you have heard this week from your family, from your friends, from the news, from our leaders. What have we heard? Let us take a moment to sit with that. And how have those words made us feel? If I asked you to just say one word of how the words that you have heard this week have made you feel, what would you say? Disappointing. Shocking. Frustrated. Anxious. Reassured. Helpless. Angry.
Sad.
Togetherness? Did I get togetherness? Togetherness.
Pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly surprised. Hope. It's a variety of expressions and emotions. Now, let us take a moment to reflect on the words that we have said to others. What have we communicated this week with our loved ones, with our coworkers, with the community? What words have come out of our mouths this past 7 days? Just don't go back 5 years ago. Because then we don't have time to do a lot of catharsis this morning, but 7 days. What words come to mind?
Help.
I'm sorry? Faith?
Help.
Health?
Peace.
Peace?
Love.
Love?
Exhort. Exhort.
Exhort? Okay, encourage.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
I love you.
I love you. Notice our words, right? It is harder for us to identify the negativity that comes out of our mouths. We just say that's true because we never speak negative. And we never say a harsh word. It's always told to us, but we never say it. Last Sunday, we were here and we talked about fear, but we talked a lot about courage. And we talked about praying with our feet and rescuing and taking back, not rescuing, because the gospel doesn't need to be rescued, but taking back the message of the church and standing for something and being clear about our message. By the time Monday afternoon or Monday evening came, a group of us were at Bennett Park, just over here, and we were there standing in solidarity against hate, trying to pray with our feet and take our message back and be courageously moving forward for justice and peace. By Tuesday night, some of us were in a community meeting about the changes in the neighborhood and the upzoning. I learned a lot in that meeting, trying to do what's right for the residents of this neighborhood that perhaps it's not that they are voiceless, but that their voices are not being heard. And then by Thursday evening, Pastor Bridget and I were just down the street here in the Church of Holy Rood, standing in solidarity with an immigrant woman who sought sanctuary at Holy Rood Church. And that is in our way of putting our words into action. Because often we have a lot to say, right? We have a lot to say. The word doesn't shut up. It's always talking. It is an extrovert world, never an introvert world, isn't it? Like the introvert, who's an introvert here? Gosh, I am a closeted introvert. Because I may present as an extrovert, but at the end of the day, I need a quiet corner in my house where I could recharge. Where extroverts, the more people, the better, right? This is where they get their energy. I need a moment of silence once in a while. So it is an extrovert world, and so many words are said all the time. In the gospel lesson this morning, Jesus is confronted by the religious leaders of his time because his disciples failed to wash their hands before they ate. According to Matthew 15, verses 1 to 2, the Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus from Jerusalem, saying, "Why do your disciples disobey the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread." So the scribes and the Pharisees, who were considered to be the police of the moral law, the keepers and enforcers in many cases of the law, were complying with what has been tradition. So Jesus challenges this law enforcement and he says, "It is not what enters our mouth that hinders us, but what comes out." And Jesus proceeds to have the toilet talk. If you heard the verses, you heard the word sewer, you heard the word what comes out of your mouth, and then goes to the sewer. So that's the potty talk, right? I mean, the toilet talk. So why is it that what comes out of our mouths is what hinders us? For starters, we need to recognize that what comes out of our mouth, our words and our actions, are a manifestation of who we are and what really is and resides inside of us. How would people know us if we don't speak with them or if we do not communicate with them? In this day and age, you don't have to really use the words that come out of your mouth. You can type your words. You can send your words to the internet so that people can get to know you. We are always talking, and silence is underrated. I just came from Synod, the Synod of the United Church of Christ in Baltimore, Maryland, and we talked non-stop for 5 days. And I was one of the reflectors, so every time I needed to reflect, someone would come and say, "Damaris, can you give us a moment of silence?" Because we appreciate your reflection, but can we just have a moment of silence? Because the introverts in the crowd were in pain. We never shut up. We talked non-stop for 5 days. Actually, there was a motion somewhere that said we need a labyrinth in one of the rooms. We need a quiet room in the next synod so that we can go and reflect. We are always talking. And I would say that we talk to each other more than we talk with each other. And so, whether it is in person or in emails, in text, in FaceTime or social media, we are always talking to each other. The term "what's trending today" has become part of our daily life and our daily routine. What trends on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and social media informs our news and manifests in what we absorb as our information. That's why today we have Social Media Sunday, because if people are going to be informed with what's happening on the internet, we want to say what we need to say. We got to put our message out. So words are spoken in many ways and are in real time around us. Now, as a new person to New York, I will say to you that one of the things that I've noticed most is the noise. The noise never stops, right? Is the buses or the cars or the sirens or the trains or the people, but there is constant, non-stop noise in New York City. Even when I'm in the cloisters, in the background, I hear some sort of vehicle that is passing somewhere in some shape or form. And what's easy about the noise of the city is that after a little while, you're able to tune it out, right? Are you able to tune it out? Okay. I'm aspiring to be like you. Words, however, they are different. They stay with us. Lately, we have heard difficult words. Words that have injured some of us, but words that have also been the source of hate, violence, and continuous marginalization of the oppressed and disenfranchised. We have heard words that have touched a deep place in our hearts as people of faith in this nation. Words that have challenged our faith and our compassion. Words that have excluded the other and that have categorized us without our consent. These are words that have left us feeling, I would argue, in many occasions, dehumanized, perplexed, and yes, as some of you said, shocked and angry. Words that some have described as free speech, but it's important that we understand that free speech does not cover hate or incitement. But those words also mobilized 20,000 people on Saturday in Boston that wanted to say their own words to the words that they were hearing. They had a message of their own. And friends, we have heard words in our own personal and individual lives, whether they are for those who are close to us or distant from us. These words have had a deep impact have informed our lives in many ways. They have built us or they have broken us down. Sometimes they have created in us some hope and some love, as we heard today. But other times they have left lasting scars in our hearts and in our minds. There are words that we will never forget until the day we die. But as we experimented this morning, we too have said some things. We too hold the power over our speech, and we too have the ability to choose how we're going to relate to one another. At a time where the noise around us does not stop, at a time when our phones are on 24 hours a day. Do you know that recently I had to go back to my provider because my phone was not working properly? And when I walked in there, the solution was very simple. He said, "You gotta turn it off sometime," so that it would just reset. And the question was, when was the last time you turned off your phone? And I said, I don't remember. Because what do, right? We get home and we plug it into the charger. Some of us have a charger in the car, so we never run out of charge. I mean, not yet, but soon I'll have a charger in the office here, right? Because we want to make sure the phone is on. And sometimes it's as simple as turn it off. At a time where we're writing our own words or uttering our words, and we're doing it constantly, my question to you, church, is, how are you doing? How is your heart? How is your mind? You know, we have to have resources to do this work. We have to understand that if we're going to do justice in the world, if we're going to be the Church of Jesus Christ, we have to have our own human resources available. So how are we doing at this time? Treasure speaks about our speaking habits. And he identifies what he calls 7 deadly sins of speaking. We all have been guilty of some, if not all of these sins. Number 1, gossip. Speaking ill of a person who is not present. I think we know that person perhaps is also gossiping about us, but nonetheless, we have to name it. Judging. If we understand that everyone is going through something we know nothing about, it may help us not to judge. I may think I understand, but I don't really know. So that would preclude me from that sin, according to Julian Treasure. Complaining. How many complainers are in the house? Don't. This is an honest church. Honest church. Complaining is the fabric of who we are as a nation, right? In a day like today, people are saying, it's a beautiful day, but the sun is too bright. Right? In a day like today, people say, oh, that breeze, too cold. And it's a beautiful day. We complain about the weather, the economy, the traffic, the children, the noise, the elderly, the city, the state, the president, the church, the minister, our spouse, our mother. There is no end to our complaining. And isn't it hard to listen to someone who's always complaining? It's kind of hard. After the first 2 minutes, you're like, yeah, I need someone said I need some goodness into my life because I heard too many complaints today. Excuses. How many excuses do we throw out on a daily basis? Eleanor Roosevelt said, in the long run, we shape our lives and we shape ourselves. The process never ends until we die. And the choices we make are ultimately our own responsibility. Exaggeration. Listen, I come from a family that exaggeration is the key. There were 1,000 people in the corner. There were 5. Right? I used to go visit my grandma. She's no longer with us. And she would say, the people in this house do this and that. And she lived with my grandfather. And I'm saying, who are these people you speak of? There's one person here. So, I mean, I know. Lying. And I'm not going to stay there for long because you know what that means. And 7, dogmatism. The confusion of facts with opinions. Because our way is the best way, we always think. But I think that our words could be such that others would want to hear them. Words are powerful. And while they can defile, they also have the power to stop wars, to heal, to change minds and hearts. They have the power to transform. So if we want our words to do good in the world, Julian Treasure proposes that we stand on these things. Honesty. Be clear and straight. Tell the truth. Authenticity. Be yourself. Be free to tell your own story. There's something unique and powerful about one's own story. Standing on our own truths. Your story and my story are transformative in a world that sometimes finds itself without direction and without hope. Number 3, integrity. Be your word. On Monday, we were being our word. On Tuesday, we were being our word. On Thursday, we were being our word. If we said we were going to stand out there for justice and peace, we were being our word every time we walked out this church's doors to be that in the world. And finally, love. Wishing people well. Loving them without reservation. Loving them even when it means that you might get hurt. And of course, it's not only what you say, but it's the way we say it. It's our communication style. We need to speak not from our throats. People say, speak from here, from your core, from your heart, from your chest. And I would say that if we're speaking from our chest, we are speaking from our hearts. Because if we do speak from our chests, our honesty, our authenticity, our integrity will be enveloped in love. And others will begin to listen. Walls will begin to fall. And the church will be a reconciliation agent in the world. We will be creating sound consciously, and understanding will be the norm. I pray that our words this week are full of the power of hail. Honesty, authenticity, integrity, and love, so that we are a blessing to ourselves, to our community, and to the world. Amen. Amen.